We never expected it to last. Not then. It was the last thing we even thought about. We clung to each other, trembling as the ship's engines snarled and protested. But we had to get away from our own home. That was all Grandfather said. And I was too young and too scared to argue or ask what we'd done wrong. It just wasn't our home anymore. That's how I remember it, but we all see things differently, don't we? There's always someone else's version. They were driving us deeper, down below the citadel walkways we'd gone, dodging in and out of the shadows. I clutched the little bag of clothes and a few books I'd rescued from the house, and Grandfather had his own private luggage, an old bronze trunk that hovered obediently behind us. He glanced back, searching for our pursuers. There were figures moving on the walkways above, guards in ceremonial scarlet. One of them saw us and aimed his gun. The bolt seared past, and I smelled my hair burning. They'd started to descend from the parapet, forcing us down further, down into the repair shops below the city, where there was no other way out and nowhere to hide, except a line of battered metal cylinders standing in a work dock. Grandfather pushed at a narrow door on one of them. It was open. In through the gap I went, into the empty interior. But it was cold in there, unwelcoming, and Grandfather did not follow.
Yes? What is it? What do you want?
For a moment, I heard voices outside. Then his hand reached in and pulled me back into the open. Instead, he urged me towards the next cylinder in line. We pushed inside together, and the luggage bustled in behind us, out of the smoky gloom. As an impossible space opened out round us. Susan, this is one of the old time ships. There were shouts from outside. We turned and pushed at the two heavy doors until they shut. That wouldn't keep the guards out for long, but Grandfather gave a whistle, and his heavy old trunk sat itself up against the doors. We were still trapped, not that Grandfather seemed bothered. He put on his spectacles and studied the control panel, squinting through the gloom at the instruments. Susan, come and look at this. And he began to wipe at the panels with the sleeve of his jacket. Then someone was hammering at the doors. They knew where we were. We couldn't stay locked in forever. Stay? Good gracious, child. Whoever mentioned staying? Not to stay. Surely he didn't actually mean to fly the ship. It took years to learn that. He smiled again. His hands hovered back and forth over the panels, as if he was uncertain which controls to operate. Now they were trying to cut their way in, but Grandfather wouldn't be hurried. He took off his spectacles and wiped them. He drummed his fingers, picking over the choices. Finally, he reached for a lever and pushed it forward. The ship trembled. Lights glimmered overhead. The circles that honeycombed the walls gave off a pale glow. From deep beneath our feet, we heard the pulsing of engines. Grandfather, are you sure? His fingers dabbled the air. Quiet, Susan. I'm thinking. Grandfather, please! At any second, the doors were going to give way. He sighed and eyed our prison. Are you ready, Susan? Please, Grandfather, just do it! He leaned forward and pressed a sequence of buttons. Down below, the engines gave a bellow of protest, and for a second I thought I heard someone cry out. The glass column shuddered and rose in its housing. Inside, instruments lit up and rotated on a central pivot. The room went into a spin, and we were thrown, clinging together, to the floor. High up by the ceiling, a screen flickered on by itself. An image of the world, our home, a brown-green snow-capped planet, was shrinking away from us, further and further, out of reach, until the streaming lights of the time vortex veiled across, and the vision was lost. We didn't let each other go. Each other. That was all we had now. I was too shocked to cry or even think. There was no time for that anyway. We were cut loose, wrenched away. There was no going back. The ship was a tiny crumb of space and time, pitching back and forth on the currents of raw creation. At any moment we were going to be torn apart. And as we clung together, I could hear Grandfather's own thoughts, tangling with mine. What had he done? What had he lost? What would become of me?